Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here. All right, answering questions from my SKOOL community. All right, let's get straight to it. I see that most of you guys struggle with recovery as opposed to training, and also I see diet as number two in the poll options. Okay. All right, first question from Andy. If being around women is good for testosterone boost, what is your advice for men who are going to trade schools and vocational schools where there aren't many hoes around? Andy, all right. Well, again, if the women keep it simple, keep it simple. You guys know I always start with that. Right? Keep it simple. If the women are not there, well, clearly you're gonna have to find them somewhere else, right? So if they're not, in your work environment and or in the school you're in, okay, then you're gonna have to schedule that somewhere in your daily routine, right? Whether you have to go to the gym to see them, the park, whatever, right? Gotta be around women. No, it sounds crazy, but pretty sure you guys have seen the studies by now. So yeah, just schedule that. If you work a 9 to 5, or if your school is, again, let's say from 9 to 5, and there's no women there, then yeah, you're gonna have to put a block somewhere in your day, right? 30 minutes, an hour, either before school or afterwards, where you go to a place that that has a lot of pretty women. And like I said, you don't have to interact with them if you're nervous, right? Start small. Just being around them is enough to activate your amygdala. It's enough to increase dopamine. It's enough to lower prolactin. It's enough to increase positive aggression, which is motivation for status. Um, just seeing them. And obviously you could, you know, take it from there, right? You can start approaching if you're confident enough or blah, blah, blah. But yeah, there's no excuse for you guys to not be around women. You guys are acting like you're in prison, you know? There's always a place to find women. I don't care if you gotta go to the mall and walk around, or you gotta go to the track, right, and jog, whatever. All right, next you have Brandon Galley. Okay, 5'9", 160 pounds, 16% body fat, 20 FFMI, 225 pounds bench, 145 pounds OHP, can do 18 wide grip pull-ups in a row. Okay, he's a freaking tank. And I like that. See, he gave me a lot of context. So um, that's good. He's not asking vague questions. Okay, so goals, same weight, but 10 to 12% body fat before the end of the year or in general. So he wants to stay around 21 FFMI. You said everything boils down to the 10 T commandments, correct? So would 75 hard, what? Would 75 hard be a good challenge to reach my goal? What do you mean 75 hard? Am I missing something here, guys? 75 what? Or do you mean 75 kg? No, because you gave me your weight in pounds. Anyway, let me keep reading. Its protocols, yeah, I don't know what 75 hard. Its protocols incorporate the 10 T commandment rules. I'm currently on day 11, still same weight, but maybe have gone down like 0.4% body fat. I don't struggle with recovery as I have a pretty free schedule. I always get at least 10,000 steps, locked in diet, sleep, and training. What I'm currently doing, HSP full body workouts, okay, HIT plus abs, nucleus overload on shoulders every day. I'm sorry, I don't know what 75 hard is. Is it something new? Is it popular? I have no clue what that is, brother. It sucks because you gave me so much context as far as your stats, and I was like, all right, let's answer this question. But then you mentioned this thing that I have no clue what that is. But again, at the end of the day, like you wrote yourself, everything boils down to the 10 T commandments, right? So as long as you checking off the 10 T commandments, as long as you're lifting, hitting each muscle 3 times a week, every other day, full body, as long as you're recovering well, that's part of the 10 T commandments, you're going to make progress. You're just going to make progress. There's no way around it because these are the mechanisms for progress. So, yeah, so if 75 hard follows those principles, you're good. Let's see, what else you said? Okay, next you have Geo-M. I'm going to the gym for 1 year and did MMA before, keeping in mind that I'm a slow gainer. If I switch to fight training without weights, will I still be able to reach 85 kgs with 12% body fat? I'm 79 kgs at 12 to 13% body fat, 184 centimeters. So you saying that if you do fight training without lifting weights, will you be able to go up to 85? 12% body fat? Hell to the no, bro. Hell to the no. Where's the resistance gonna come from? Unless you're doing even if you're doing like there's an exception. A small exception would be wrestling. If you're wrestling every day, that's resistance training, right? People don't even know this, but wrestling is resistance training. You constantly, it's almost like doing calisthenics with somebody else's body, right? You're constantly jockeying for control. The reason why I cancel resistance training is because, of the force velocity relationship, right? You're trying to move something as fast as possible, but the person is resisting, so therefore it becomes the velocity is low, so you have maximum mechanical tension on the muscle. So that's going to build some muscle, but it's going to be very slow, and it would not be the same as actual lifting weights, because now that's targeted, right? Now you're hitting your chest, you're hitting your back, and you can progressively overload. Whereas if you're wrestling, yeah, you're going to get some tension here and there, but it's not methodical. It's not planned. It's just random. It would take years of wrestling to develop a physique without lifting weights. So no, you have to lift weights if you want to get to. You're trying to go up 6 kilograms, which is over 12 pounds, and you want to be lean. You gotta lift weights, man. The only other alternative is obviously PDs, right? It's the only other thing that will put on muscle without mechanical tension. Is a freak ton of testosterone or testosterone derivatives, or anything that lowers myostatin. Next, you have internet user. I saw a post from a fitness influencer saying that a high rep set, 15 to 25 reps, can only be done once in a session. One set 3 times a week for most people. More than that, and we can't recover from it, as they like to say. There's this new trend, by the way, that's complete bullshit, but there's this new trend now where they tell everyone to avoid high rep sets because of fatigue, and they say that both high and low reps create same hypertrophy stimulus with different fatigue levels, where higher reps cause more fatigue. It's so confusing. If someone asks them what's the upper limit for volume when training 3 times a week frequency, they say it depends on the rep range. Is this really overhyped, and is it because most people don't manage their recovery well? Is this all true? First of all, it's overhyped. It's overhyped. I don't know who started this, because I'm getting so many questions about rep ranges and fatigue and all that. Keep in mind, guys, I don't play with fatigue, right? All of my programs from day one, I'm always talking about recovery. Everyone knows me for that. It depends on your recovery. So I'm all about managing fatigue. That's another reason why full body workouts are king. That's why I'm always recommending full body workouts, because you get 4 full days of recovery. Recovery from what? From fatigue, from damage. So even though I'm Mr. Recovery, Mr. Fatigue, that whole high rep, low rep shit is over fucking hype. It's overhyped, right? Not only the evidence, for example, here's a simple way to destroy that, right? Back in the days, people used to say, I remember people used to say, oh, you can only build muscle with low reps. You have to lift heavy, right? You got to get brutally strong to get big. And then I used to bash that all the time, and studies came out showing that I was right. You could build muscle with up to 30 reps, right? So again, I was right. Those morons, it's usually guys who are on roids and TRT and all that stuff, always preaching bullshit. We found out you could build muscle with 5 reps, you could build muscle with 10 reps, with 20 reps, with 30 reps, right? Now they're switching to, oh yeah. So if you do high reps, it's fatigue. Okay, yes, there is fatigue, but eventually, knock knock, the body adapts. The body adapts, and in some cases, that fatigue, right, as long as it's not CNS fatigue, makes it so that you can actually recruit your high threshold motor units easier, right? That's one of the reasons why blood flow restriction works. It creates local, not systemic, but local fatigue in the muscle, and then it increases activation of the high threshold motor units, because your slow twitch fibers are deprived of oxygen, whatever, blah blah blah. I made a lot of videos about that. So at the end of the day, the way you could smash that whole myth of high reps, more fatigue, therefore it's not efficient. Look at the outcome. Look at the outcome data. Why is it that when people do low reps, let's say 5 to 6 reps, and people do 15 to 20 reps, they build the same amount of muscle, right? So to me, that's case closed right there. Yes, the higher rep group has more fatigue, but they still end up building the same amount of muscle. So who the fuck cares, right? You adapt eventually, Then they move the goalposts to, oh well, I've been in so many debates, right? Ever since 2011 when I first started my channel, so I've heard every freaking argument and counter argument. I saw every train come and go. It's so bullshit. Then I move the goalposts to, oh, maybe it's not muscle growth. Then it's swelling. See, it's like they keep moving the goalposts. Every time they're wrong, they're afraid to just say, I'm wrong, let me take the L, so they move the goalposts. First they said, oh, high reps doesn't build muscle. Then we show that it builds muscle. Now they're saying, oh, high reps leads to more fatigue. Okay, but then if you look at the actual randomized controlled trials and whatever, same muscle growth built. Then they say, oh, well, it's not really muscle. You can't win with these motherfuckers. It's like somebody who says, oh, this job doesn't pay as much as this job. But then when you find out that they pay the same, then they say, oh, it's probably fake money. What? They're clowns, guys. They're clowns. I believe in using all rep ranges. Low reps, high reps. So if you look at HSP training, it's actually 70% low reps, right? 70% of my programs are actually low reps. It's heavy. Heavy day is around 5 reps. Stretch days around 6 to 8, right? Sometimes I go up to 10 because I use a double progression method. And then pump day is the only day that's high reps, you know? So I'm a big believer in low reps for different reasons, of course. But high reps also work. Pump training also works, right? Another way you could tell, even if you don't want to look at the studies, you know how high rep works because look at calisthenic motherfuckers. These guys do a ton of high reps and they still build great physiques. Look at Jack Prisoners. Ton of high reps, great physique. So it's guys, it's the fact that a lot of fitness influencers run out of content. They don't know what to talk about. They're trying to get views. They know that controversy gets views, so they try to reinvent the wheel so you could have a reason to keep coming back. Whereas me, I just keep repeating the basics over and over again to the point where people get sick of it. When people say, Megan, I'm not learning anything new from your videos, I'm like, good. That's how I know I'm doing the right thing because the basics are all that fucking matter, right? Now, we could talk about the advanced stuff, but that's just icing on the cake, you know? So stop listening to the BS, right? High reps work, low reps work. You just got to find a balance that works best for you. Each rep range has pros and cons. For example, I like lifting heavy because it checks multiple boxes, but also it comes with a higher risk of injury. Are we going to ignore that, right? Whereas high reps, you come with a lower risk of injury, but, you know, comes with higher fatigue that you can manage over time. See? Everything has pros and cons, man. Next. Nate, how bad are Cetos? Not to mention that low reps just beat up your joints, man, like crazy. Next, how bad are seed oils, and is there a limit to it, or better to eliminate it completely? Again, you know, fried seed oils are terrible because obviously they're fried, so lipid peroxidation, whatever, and also they taste good and make people overeat, right? So that's going to lead to weight gain, and obviously it's going to lead to a whole bunch of issues. But if you're eating seed oils, again, in small amounts, you fine, right? If you're eating seed oils in small amounts every now and then, you fine, you know. But if you're eating them every day, plus they're fried and all that stuff, no, of course you're not fine. You're gonna have freaking inflammation city, ton of oxidative stress, you know. Not to mention it's gonna deplete your body of vitamin E and a bunch of other stuff. So most people are not healthy enough to actually consume seed oils and be fine. Most people are so unhealthy and so full of inflammation that it's just adding fuel to the fire. Right. Now, if your diet is amazing, you exercise a lot, you're not sedentary, you have a healthy body weight, you eat a lot of vitamin E, you know, which really helps with lowering inflammation from seed oils. You eat a lot of omega-3, so now your omega-6 to 3 ratio is good. Then, yeah, then that, you know, then you don't really have to be terrified of seed oils. But for most people, just stay away. All right, next, Santiago Coro, 126 centimeters. A lot of European motherfuckers. 76 kg, 18 years old, 21 FFMI, 13 to 15% body fat. How could I get more protein as a college student to aid the recovery of my training? How could I get more protein as a college student? Eggs are cheap. I think you mean, when you say college student, you mean like budget wise, right? Do you mean like you're on the budget, or do you just mean time to see? This is where specifics matter, right? Are you trying to get more protein as in like, are you broke and you know you're on the budget, or do you mean more protein as you don't have time to eat? You said taking into account busy schedule, so I'm guessing you mean time constraints. Yeah, I mean, just you could eat 3 meals a day and be fine, right? You could eat 3 meals a day and be fine. In that case, you could fit 3 meals a day in your busy schedule. If you want to really maximize muscle growth and fat loss and whatever, then yeah, you could increase that to 5 to 6 meals a day, you know, to make sure that you don't have any stones unturned. But you could fit in 3 meals a day, you know. As far as how, yeah, use protein that you could carry. Boiled eggs, even though it's gonna smell like ass, but you know, try to open that in a private space. Boiled eggs. You could make sandwiches. You could make the testosterone burrito. Burritos are king because you could put so many things inside, wrap it up in aluminum foil, and then you're good to go. Hopefully that helps. Next, and also whey protein, right? You could also put whey protein, make a shake, carry with you. It's so easy to just carry protein. Boiled eggs, whey protein, burritos, stuff like that. All right, next, you put a link. You know I'm not going to click on it. You guys know I don't have time to watch videos. You know, unless I'm researching something, I rarely click on the stuff you guys send. I'm always going to actually just summarize it. I don't think you guys understand the amount of questions I get a day. If I had to click on every link that I get sent, or every Megan, respond to this clown. This clown made a video about you. Respond to him. This idiot made a video, but respond. That would be my whole day, and I'm all about return on investment. Next, Tom Butler. Curious about the following. Does this amount of eggs really increase tests and have a steroid-like effect? Why is not everybody doing this? Should I try it out? Is it bullshit? So I don't know what you're talking about. You should have summarized the link. But if you're saying, does this amount of eggs really increase tests? What's the amount? Is it one of those things where they're like, oh, you should eat 100 eggs a day or some crazy bullshit. I don't know what it is. So next time, summarize what the link says. As far as steroid-like effect, that's kind of overdoing it. That's overdoing it. Trust me, guys. Trust me. If anything has a steroid-like effect, right, and it's proven to work, randomized controlled trials, meta-analysis everywhere, everyone will be doing it. So whatever that link is referring to, if it has a steroid-like effect, if it works like tren, or even if it works, forget tren. Let's not get that extreme. Even if it works like, let's say, EQ, or Dynabol, or even Winstrol, everyone will be doing it, guys. Everyone. Myself included, athletes, whatever. We are all trying to get enhanced naturally. Next, is resetting mTOR really that important? Why doesn't anyone talk about it? Well, number one, yes, it's that important. I've already shown you guys all the studies that show. One of the best ones is the study that showed that even if people take up to a 3-week break in a long training program, they're put on the same muscle as people who just train continuously, which is insane. And it was replicated as well. So it's not just one study. You guys know I don't draw conclusions from just one study. So it's important for that. It's important for all the other reasons I explained in all the mTOR videos. It's important for, giving enough time for fatigue to fade, giving enough time for the adaptations, the myonuclei to fuse, the satellite cells to, proliferate and be confused into myoblasts and all the nerdy stuff, right? So many beneficial things happen during that week, right? You're resetting your sensitivity to training. Why does it, and not only the science backs it up, but as always, the empirical evidence. So much empirical evidence, and obviously anecdotes, even though I don't weigh anecdotes heavily unless there's just countless, supporting mTOR reset. Why doesn't anyone talk about it? I mean, that's like saying, how come people don't talk enough about full body workout, and the stretch? You guys remember I was talking about full body workouts and the stretch freaking, 14 years ago, 13 years ago? And look how long it took for everybody else to hop on the fucking stretch deck and the fucking frequency deck. Not everyone is talking about frequency and volume and training more than once a week and whatever. When I started YouTube, guys, it was the complete opposite. I was called an idiot for saying that once a week bro split was not enough. Now look, almost everybody laughs at bro splits now. See? So why aren't people talking about that back then? Right? The weighted stretch. I have so many videos, where I was talking about rack pulls and all of that stuff. And look how long it took for everybody else to hop on rack pulls and the weighted stretch. So why doesn't anyone talk about it? It depends what you mean by anyone. Now, funny enough, the things I was talking about back then, I'm not going to act like I was the only one, right? I even told you guys. The things I was talking about is because the GOATs were doing it before steroids. These are things that everyone was doing. Before steroids, almost every jack lifter was training full body 2 to 3 times a week. Some of them were doing nucleus overload, without actually, they didn't know it was nucleus overload, right? A lot of the stuff that I preach, it's not stuff that I just woke up one day and was like, oh my God, revelation. Angel Gabriel spoke to me in the mountain. No, I noticed that the ghosts were doing it before steroids. So yeah, mTOR reset is really important. And if you think about it, some people are doing versions of mTOR reset. It's called deload weeks. It's just they still lift, because they're trying to maintain their strength. And that's one thing that's beneficial about deload weeks is by still doing some form of lifting, you prevent your strength from dropping too fast. But yeah, powerlifters do deload for a reason because it works. Next, Max Keegan. How do you get deep sleep and stop waking up multiple times in the middle of the night? Also, do blue light glasses help? So I'm going to answer the last one. Yes, blue light glasses help somewhat. There's some mixed research. Some studies saying that, it only delays sleep onset by, a little bit or blah, 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 whatever. But, at least for me personally, they work. For the people that use them, they work. Could be placebo. Who cares? One thing we know for a fact is that you should be blocking light around bedtime. As far as how to get deep sleep and start waking up multiple times, as always, it depends on the reason why you keep waking up, right? Think about it, guys. Sometimes you just use common sense. It depends on the reason, because there are multiple reasons for not having deep sleep. Multiple reasons. If you keep waking, for example, is it because you keep peeing? If it's because you keep waking up to pee, then guess what the solution is? Don't drink a lot of water close to bedtime. See, my answer will always change depending on the root cause. That's why I keep saying it depends. Not to mention the whole, IUC and everything. So do you keep waking up because you have to pee? Do you wake up because it's too hot? If you keep waking up because it's too hot, then guess what the answer is? Right? Sleep in a cool room. Do you keep waking up because of noise? Then in that case, well, put earmuffs or use white noise. That's what I use. I use white noise. You know, and I still get waking up because of fuck ass rating. Do you keep waking up because I don't know, you took caffeine too close to bedtime? Well, in that case, stop taking caffeine close to bedtime. Do you keep waking up because you did MMA sparring session at night and your adrenaline is through the roof? In that case, avoid that. Do you keep waking up because you eat too close to bedtime? You eat huge meals and now your temperature's elevated and then you have stomach distress and whatever? Then the solution would be, you see, that's why I ask you guys to be specific, because not to brag, but I know my shit. I know all the fucking mechanisms. People who don't know their shit, who's always going to give you general answers. Oh, do this, as if that applies to everybody. I've been in this long enough to know that everyone is different and there are different causes for different problems and therefore different solutions. Right? So I'm not asking you to be specific. You should be a dick. No, it's because I actually want to give you an answer that's going to work for you. What if I just told you, oh, just stop drinking close to bedtime and I move on, and that wasn't even the root cause? See? So yeah, Max, try to identify what the root cause is. And if you don't know what the root cause is, then you can watch my tier list videos where I go over the potential root causes of bad sleep and the things that help with sleep, and then try to figure out which of those you're doing or not doing. Right? That's why I have free content. Now, if you're a client of mine, then that's different, because now I actually have to sit there and talk with the client one-on-one and go through the list of all the potential causes. Right? But again, that's what coaching is for. I'm not gonna do that for everybody. It takes forever. Next, Blazej Zagorski. I cannot pronounce your name, sorry. So, okay, 6'2", 187 pounds, 12% body fat. This motherfucker's a house. Based on the picture, that is. FFMI 21.3. Based on FFMI, FFMI definitely could be higher. 4 years gym experience. Strongest lifts, bench press, 320 pounds by 1. Holy shit, good job. Squat 330 by 8. Good fucking job, especially for a 6'2" guy. OHP 155 by 6. Good lifts. Question. Let's see. Okay. If I want to maximize muscle growth in certain muscle groups, can I do 2 sets? 0 to 1 reps in reserve in HSP training? I think that 1 set is not enough for maximum muscle growth. I know that in second, third, and next set, fatigue would be bigger, but I'm pretty experienced lifter, and I need this second set to fail to really push my hypertrophy to maximum, especially in compound exercises such as squat, barbell, bench press, barbell, and RDL. Okay, so my answer to that is always the same. 1 hard set first, mainly because it's the highest return on investment set. Even in my OG HSP training, you start off with 1 hard set, right? And then the weeks after that, you're still doing 1 hard set, and you're doing like drop sets or rest pause. So that first set is the most important one, right? Biggest bang for your buck. Highest mechanical tension relative to the amount of damage and fatigue you're getting. Every set after that, of course, more volume is going to always lead to more muscle growth as long as recovery is managed, right? That's why I'm a big high volume guy, but I'm also a big recovery guy. That's what I keep saying. It depends on your recovery. So if you could recover from multiple sets on HSP, go for it, even on Centurion, right? If you see that you're making progress on 1 set, right, and you're still fresh, at the end of every 4-week cycle, you're fresh, you're full of energy, by all means, you could start adding a second set. But then watch your KPIs. If you notice that your recovery KPIs are suffering, then that was too much, right? So that's the whole point of Centurion, so that everybody first learns to train hard on that 1 set and then titrate from there. Also keep in mind that, unfortunately, when people try to do 2 sets, I see this all the time. When people try to do 2 sets, they half-ass the first set almost every time. It's subconscious. It's the brain. The brain's trying to conserve energy. The brain knows that, oh my God, I got to do 2 sets. So even if you think you're going hard, you don't go as hard on the first set, and then you end up going hard on the second set. So it's like, what's the point? But when people know they only have 1 hard set, they go all out. So be careful with that. Be careful. The danger of adding a second set is you might half-ass the first set. But again, try it and see if your KPIs are still going up. Also, you could always add another exercise. If you look at Centurion, there's a lot of overlap exercises on purpose, because I know it's going to be 1 hard working set. That's why I add a lot of overlap movements. Like I would put like a pulling movement for back, and I also put a rowing movement on the same day. It's not really 1 set for back. It's really 2 sets for back if you think about it. And on heavy day, I even add roll for bicep because that adds a third set to back as well. So I'm very strategic with it, right? But yeah, you're also good. So I would rather add another exercise than add another set, because then you're hitting you know, you're hitting overlapping fibers, but you're also hitting other fibers that are not being hit by that first exercise. Next, Samu Maggio, why chia seeds are an S tier for the testosterone diet, in the same tier as avocado, kiwi, blueberries, etc. They have a ton of omega-3s. So chia seeds are really good. Don't get me wrong. In fact, my vegan clients, we spam freaking chia seeds because that's one of the best ways they're gonna get their omega-3s. And chia seeds also have a lot of fiber, and you guys know fiber is the goat. I'm Mr. High Carbs. But as far as people who are able to eat an animal diet, salmon is just better. Salmon is better. You're just getting way more bang for your buck. That's if omega-3s is your goal, that is. So that's why I don't put in S tier, because they're just, to be in guys, S tier is reserved for only the goats, man. I can't put everything in S tier. So as far as omega-3s go, I'd rather get it from salmon. Believe it or not, I'd rather get omega-3s from oysters. Even though they're not super high in omega-3s, they're high enough, and they come with other things that are hard to get, zinc, copper, stuff like that. Next. Harrison Hunt, how can one find out for themselves how much carbs they need to refill their muscle glycogen stores? Very simple. Just look at how many hard sets you did and how large the muscle was, right? And you could look online. It's out there. There's studies that show how much glycogen you're depleting after one set, or after two sets, or after three sets. Just do the math. Just look online. Look at. I have it in my notes somewhere. That's what I use whenever I program stuff. I look at, okay, how much glycogen is depleted when you do 3 sets of squats or 3 sets of leg extensions, and then from there you can try to figure out how many carbs you have to replenish. But I still think that's splitting hairs. I'm all about speed, fast results, and return on investment. It's best to just follow the basic rules that I already gave you guys. Looks like you're offline. I'm not offline. The fuck. But anyway. So yeah, just follow the basic rules I gave you guys, right? Try to get at least 50% of your calories from carbs, right? Based on your TDE, you'll be fine. Or try to eat, at least, whatever your protein is, multiply that by 2 to 3, many shortcuts to figure out how many carbs you need. Next, Vladimir Putin, I'm from India, oyster and beef not available. I prioritize eggs, milk, lamb liver, milk products. What else T-boosting food can I eat? If you're referring to protein, then yeah, I mean, if you can't eat beef, then get the next substitute. Get pork. Unless you're Muslim, you can't eat pork. Then you're eating lamb, that's fine. You could eat goat. You could eat kangaroo. You could eat horse. Get whatever red meat is the next closest, to you. As far as oysters, man, it's so hard to replace oysters, guys. Trust me. Because I don't like the taste of oysters. So if there was a better alternative, I would mention it. But it's very hard to replace oysters. They're so dense in so many key things, not just zinc. So worst case scenario, if you're eating enough red meat, you might eventually get enough zinc. Worst case scenario, you could supplement with zinc every now and then, not every day. Make sure you balance it with copper. Or you could just try eating other shellfish. As far as what other T-boosting food you could add, as far as protein goes, do not forget salmon. Omega-3s are mandatory, guys. All right, next we have Mark Spaniels. Should I have 100 grams of carbs before workout, an intra-workout shake with carbs and amino acids, as well as 100 grams of carbs post-workout? So that I can maximize insulin/adrenocorticotropic receptor MAPK pathway. Okay, this is too vague. It's too vague, my nigga. Right? Because I don't know how long your workout is. Is it a full body workout? Is it chest and triceps, bro split? The amount of carbs you need for a workout, both during, before, after, depends on the workout. It depends on how long the workout is. It depends on, how many muscle groups you're using, how large those muscle groups are. Are you doing quads, hamstrings, or are you doing forearms and triceps, right? It depends on how many sets you're doing, how much volume you're doing. So many things go into, carb requirements, because that's the purpose of carbs, right? It's to fuel your workouts and to replenish glycogen. So I can't answer that question, bro. Yeah. For example, on the days that I do my crazy workouts, you guys have seen the days when I do full body and nucleus overload and fucking HSP training, and then I do 20 to 40,000 steps. Or the day where I did 50,000 steps, and I do my 1 mile run, and then I do the HIIT on the assault bike. Do you think I eat the same carbs than the days where I just go to the gym and do, I don't know, like boxing or whatever, or just, nucleus overload? No. So it depends, brother. Next, tapatio trochero tapioca. All right, to gain maximum strength as fast as possible, is it a good idea to do nucleus overload focus on strength? If so, how should it be done? And if not, what's the optimal protocol? Also, when lifting, I imagine I would have to forget about the S and P of HSP training, meaning I should just focus on being explosive and powerful, right? 68 kg, 16% body fat, 170 centimeters. Best lifts, 20 kg, 4 pull-ups, 4 reps of pull-ups. 3 ring dips with 20 kgs. Squats, 95 by 5. Deadlift, 130 by 5. Goal, pure strength. Yeah, so if your goal is maximum strength, the only thing I would do differently is I would do the lift that you're trying to become stronger at. I would just do that 3 times a week, right? So not only you will have your normal heavy day, your stretch day, your pump day, but in the lift that you're trying to specialize in, I would do that 3 times a week. You could add it on your stretch day or on your pump day or whatever at the beginning. That's the only thing I would do differently. That's what I did when I wanted to blow up my bench as fast as possible, and I went from 245 to 315 in just a few months, right? It's just more frequency, right? Frequency is the answer to so many things, right? Just more repetitions. So yes, if you want to blow up your strength, pick the lift, because strength is mainly neural. In the beginning, that is, in the earlier phase, it's mainly neural adaptations. It's a skill. You just got to do it a lot. And do it 3 times a week. Just make sure you manage recovery and, tendons and stuff like that. As far as removing the S and the P, I wouldn't, because if you remember I said strength is, mainly neural, but what's the other part? It's muscle, right? You need muscle mass to be stronger. Right? In fact, that's why muscles get bigger, to be able to be stronger. So if you remove S and P, then you're going to have you're reducing effective volume, you're reducing hypertrophy, and then eventually you're only going to have the neural adaptations, which are going to peak very fast. That's why even powerlifters have bodybuilding phases, right, where they focus on hypertrophy. Next, Laszlo Eden, anyway, stats, 180 centimeters, 130 pounds, 12% body fat, FMI 16. God damn, FMI 16, bro. Come on, man. You got to get big. Strongest lift, 45-pound weighted pull-up, chest to bar. Can fatigue from walking 8 to 12 hours a day, every single day, affect my muscle growth, gym progress? And so, if I were to go on a lean buck with a surplus, will all the walking minimize my muscle growth? Also, what type of macro split do you recommend? For someone who does daily 25 to 40,000 steps a day and goes to the gym every once in a while. Okay, so the first question is, you say if you walk 8 to 12 hours a day, yeah, I'm not going to lie, that might affect your muscle growth. First of all, it's good that you're moving and it's going to help with recovery and things like that, but the inverted U curve, right? That might also impact your growth, mainly through either cortisol, if you don't get enough carbs and sleep and water and electrolytes and healthy fats, or it could reduce hypertrophy through reducing, motor unit recruitment, right? If your central nervous system is fatigued, right? So that's the issue with doing, because that's pretty much doing a lot of cardio. If you're walking 8 to 12 hours a day, that's no longer zone 1. So that's the downside. How do you mitigate that? Well, you can eat more carbs. You can make sure that those steps are not intense. If they're not intense, you just walking at zone 1, and then you taking a break every now and then, and you're fine. If anything, you might even grow faster because you're increasing blood flow and lowering inflammation and oxidative stress. But if it's intense walking and you're tired and you checking your grip strength is going down throughout the day, yeah, that's definitely going to affect muscle growth. Try to eat more carbs and try to manage, try not to walk intensely. As far as what type of macro split I recommend for somebody who works, you're just gonna need more carbs. So instead of having at least 50% of calories from, depending on how intense you walk. If it's intense walking, then you're gonna need more carbs. If it's not intense, then you could just have more fats. You'll be fine. So instead of minimum 50% calories from carbs, I would bring that up to 55, even 60% of your calories from carbs, right? Depending on how intense your walking is. Because the main issue is your liver glycogen might be depleted, by the time you get to the gym. And you guys already know if your liver glycogen goes down, then cortisol shoots up like crazy. All right, next, Holy Raf, what is a good alternative to maintain what we built with HSP training if we no longer have access to the gym, machines, and weights? So assuming we don't want to grow and just keep what we have using body weight only. Oof, that's gonna be tough. It's gonna be hard to maintain. If you've made a lot of gains on HSP and you're trying to maintain that without those movements, it's gonna be hard because there's just some movements you can't do at home. Now you could be creative. So let's say you can't squat anymore. You could do Bulgarian split squats. You could do lunges with dumbbells. Wait, did you say no dumbbells? You said no gym, no machine, no weights. Oh, you fucked, man. You fucked. Because now you only have calisthenics, which is great for back, great for chest. If you could do dips. But what are you gonna do with legs? Assuming that you have a strong squat or a strong leg press, what are you gonna do with legs? Even with Bulgarian split squats, you're gonna need some weight. So unless you have somebody to give you resistance, that person's body, you kind of screwed. So yeah, best thing you could do is just do calisthenics and hit the body parts that you can hit. The beauty of calisthenics is if an exercise is too easy, you could just do the one limb version, right? So one arm version or one leg version. But you're so limited with calisthenics. There's just some movements you just can't do. Next, Jack Ibama, 195 centimeters, 108 kg, 24% body fat, ethnic origin, Pashtun, lifting for 3 months and just turned 18, bench 90 kilograms, squat 140 kilograms. Definitely reduce your body fat, brother. Doing functional lifts like strict presses and cleans, will it help with muscle growth? Also, do you why is weighted? Do you why? Or I guess that's a typo. Do you know why is weighted calisthenics like weighted dips and weighted pull-ups better than normal free weight compound exercises? Let's answer the first question. Do functional lifts like straight presses and cleans, will it build muscle? Yeah, guys, anything that puts mechanical tension on the muscle will build muscle. I repeat, anything that puts mechanical tension on the muscle, right? As long as you're doing enough volume. What's volume? Volume is simply more mechanical tension. That's all it is. Don't let people complicate it. Volume is not reps, it's not sets. It's really how much time the muscle is experiencing mechanical tension. And when I say time, I'm referring to like hard tension, not just you moving away up and down and saying, oh, look, time under tension. Time under hard tension, which is really what we're referring to when we say time under tension. So anything that puts tension on the muscle, as long as you're doing enough volume plus enough frequency, you're gonna build muscle. Doesn't matter if it's machines, doesn't matter if it's weights, calisthenics, doesn't matter. Next, your other question was, why do weighted calisthenics like weighted dips and weighted pull-ups better than normal free weight compound exercises? It depends on the movement that you're comparing it to, right? Because weighted dips are goated because one, you're training the muscle in the stretch position. I've been telling you guys for day one that stretch position is OP. Same thing with weighted pull-ups. You're starting in a stretch position. Your last is stretched as fuck, right? But if you could find a machine or free weight compound version that does the exact same thing, then there's no difference, right? So yes, the fact that you're recruiting a lot more units and you're training the muscle in the stretch position, which is the most anabolic part of the lift for the most part. Next, Preston Dare. Megan, let's say hypothetically you got dog shit sleep, which is 3 hours one night. Is it still a good idea to hit a hard lift the next day? Wouldn't that mess with recovery? Absolutely. If you slept like shit, try to avoid the gym. Because even if you're able to get a good workout in, your cortisol is gonna be so high, your adrenaline is gonna be so high, you're just gonna make the recovery worse. So you might be able to train the muscle, but at what cost? You're just digging a deeper hole, right? And remember, studies show if your cortisol is super elevated during a training program, it's going to negate a lot of the gains. That's why athletes look at the testosterone to cortisol ratio, because cortisol is that fucking goblin that kills your gains, because cortisol increases myostatin as well. So yeah, I don't think it's worth it. I think it's best to get your steps that day, whatever, and then try to recover quickly. And your work capacity might even suffer as well. Not to mention your RPE is going to be higher or whatever. Anyway, next, Emiliano Calzada, 6 foot, 180 pounds, 17% body fat, 20.2 FFMI. I want to run a Centurion program 3 times a week, but I train at home. I don't have all the exact machines or weight options the program calls for. If we don't have the right equipment or exact loads, is the key just pushing hard with what we do have, like going close to failure in the right rep range instead of stressing about matching the exact weights? Correct. Correct. Now you're speaking my language, because I'm all about speed, right? Just getting as close to your goal as possible with the tools available to you. So I'd rather have you get started using whatever machines or weights you have at home. I don't care if it's resistance bands, just because it's the closest thing you have, right? I'd rather have you get started with that than to wait 3 months until you have the perfect gym and whatever. You just wasted 3 months of your life, right? So get started with what you have. Just like people say, hey, Megan, I know you said to use this exercise, but, like I don't have it or it hurts. I'm like, okay, pick the next one. Pick the next closest one. But then they're like, well, what about the fact that it's not as good? I'm like, it doesn't matter. As long as you just speed, speed, speed. Get started. Get started. Build that momentum. And then eventually you'll refine and optimize. So I agree. Get started with whatever you have. If you don't have that, look for the next closest thing that you have. Okay? But don't sit there and overanalyze. Paralysis by analysis. Next, Madi Luigi. Why does pump training time the most out of the HSP days? Is it because of weak cardiovascular conditioning? That's definitely a factor as well. People that have weak cardio, that suck at pump day. I'm doing Centurion HSP, 20 years old, 83 kg, 173 centimeter, 24 to 25% body fat. Yeah. I mean, high reps are also fatiguing. Everybody knows that. But also, if your work capacity is garbage, it's going to be even harder. So try to work on your cardio. Next, is sprinting great for building muscle? No, that's not what sprinting is for. Sprinting is great for building power. Sprinting is great for increasing your VO2 max, and good for bone density as well, but it's not for building muscle, mainly because of the force velocity relationship. You're moving way too fast. All right, guys, hope this video helps. Join the SKOOL community before price increases. Hire me for coaching. Buy the ebooks if you want to support the channel. I'm out of here.